Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in Medford, Oregon. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, Spiritual Director here, and we are so grateful that you each decided to join us for our Sunday celebration. We are a welcoming and inclusive spiritual community dedicated to teaching spiritual tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everyone. We welcome you no matter where you happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. With me today to do our invocation and reading is practitioner Nancy Clay. And our musicians this morning are Heather Hutton and Richard Williams. We go to them now for our opening song.
This is a song by Karen Drucker, Blessing to the World.
Mute.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am and all I do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. We're a blessing to the world. We're a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the heart, you are the hands. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the heart, I am the hands, and we are the heart, we are the hands, we are the heart, we are the hands.
What I know is that there is one power, one presence, one infinite being of which everything is made. Everything on the planet is endowed and imbued with the holiness of God, with the wisdom of God and the guidance of God. Every person on the planet is a replica of God, doing God's work, being God's life, showing our gratitude for all that is. And so I know that each one of us, as an individual human being on the planet Earth at this time, is a complete individuation of the Spirit of God. And we have the power of our word to create our lives. We have the power of thought to tell us what we need to know. We have the power of love in our hearts and in our souls to bring us through life and to bring us to times like we're in right now, challenging times where what is being called for is equivalent and like what is happening to life on earth right now. So we know that we have everything we need to rise up, to open our hearts, and to live in a way that brings us to the time we're in, the answer to the challenges, the love that it needs to heal. I know that everything each of us needs to know is as close as our breath. Each breath is God creating our life. So in this time of challenge, I speak my word for all of creation, knowing that we are on track, that we are where we need to be, that the moment is now. And so as we live our lives with intention, with our hearts open, with faith, with fortitude, and with deep, deep knowing that peace is at the heart of God, always, in every way. And so I just release all these words to the power of the mind that will create it. And I'm so grateful this morning for our philosophy, for Reverend Kimberly's love and guidance, and just for the sunshine that is outside the window right now. And so we can say together at this time, and so it is. So I have a reading this morning, and it's actually on my phone because Reverend Kimberly texted it to me, and I couldn't print it. So I have the only phone that is not on airplane mode at the moment. And I have to get us where we need to be. Sorry. Yes. Thank you, Kimberly. I didn't leave my phone in the way that I needed to be able to find what we're doing now. And so I'm going to read a short reading in the words of Ernest Holmes. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Ernest Holmes, he is the person who created our philosophy, our spiritual practices that we use to know who we are and how to live according to plan. So, in light of all the changes, in light of all the losses, in light of all the scurrying and hurrying and the things that we need to figure out, let us just know. Let us, therefore, light the candle of love, human kindness, forgiveness, understanding in our soul, and let it shine brightly as the sun, as brightly as the stars. Let us not peer into the darkness, troubled and concerned, because it is so foreboding and unknown. Rather, let us remain steadfast in the radiance of that spiritual light of truth within ourselves. Let us stand guard so that the winds of malice, cross purposes, ignorance, or misunderstanding will not blow out the light, but they will be dispersed by the love that we emit into the universe on a daily basis, on a minute-wide basis. We're made of love, and we're expressing love. Light from the candle of our spiritual knowledge will forever be clear and understood, not only by ourselves, but by all with whom we come into contact. I know this to be true. I know that we can meet the challenge of meet the challenges that we are facing in life as always, and that we're together, we're one, and we can say together, and so it is.
Thank you so much, Nancy. You're welcome. We go now again to Heather and Tom. Heather and Richard.
So this song came to me just a few days ago, so this is the first time I'm sharing it out, and inspired me to write it, just the dynamics of the world right now, and also the prayer of St. Francis. And the piano just turned off. Aha. I do want you to hear the piano, so we're going to get that turned on just a second. So you'll notice a little bit of the prayer of St. Francis in the beginning, because it's make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace and kindness, and then that kind of goes on from there. Thank you. Make me an instrument of your peace and kindness. Make for change from this divisiveness, where there's despair, hope, where there is doubt, faith, poverty to riches, where there is grief, there is joy, where there is darkness, light. Rise and unite and take heart and love. Just love. Give of who you are. No holding back. We were made for this, and what we give will be our bliss. Just give your gifts. Oh, divine master and mistress of all that is, help us to understand our pieces in the greater plan. So let's give and receive. Truth is more than beliefs. Pardon trespasses. Where there is doubt, there is faith. Where there's despair, hope. Die and be born again and take heart and love. Just love. Let's give of who we are. No holding back. We were made for this, and what we give will be our bliss. Just love. Let's love, love, love. Let's love, love.
Powerful, powerful original song by Heather Hutton. Thank you so much. And thank you too to Richard Williams. He is our pianist. Tom Frederick is our sound engineer, just to be clear. But thank you. That was just gorgeous, you guys. So we are wrapping up this week a 6-week series called The Prosperous Heart. Creating a World of Enough was the name of the book by Julia Cameron that we've based a lot of this on. And I want to recap a little bit for those who may not have watched other broadcasts, or maybe you did, and let's just recap what we know about creating a prosperous heart. First of all, as author Julia Cameron reminds us, the opposite of prosperity is not poverty. The opposite of prosperity, she says, is anxiety. We know in Science of Mind, as Nancy so beautifully reminded us earlier, that our thoughts are creative. So if we're living in an anxious state, we're creating more to be anxious about. If we can have faith and recognize that the universe is infinitely abundant, there is no limit to the good that source, that God offers and has standing at the ready to give us, then we create a prosperous life. As Eric Butterworth reminds us, not just having things, but the consciousness that attracts things. That's what prosperity is all about. So that first week, I also went over 5 basic spiritual tools, a spiritual toolkit, if you will, that Cameron offers us to nurture and develop our prosperous heart. I won't go over those again, but boy, if you haven't read the book, I encourage you to get it or to listen to that first week in October talk where I outlined the spiritual tools. Week 2, I called the talk The Most Important Question. According to Albert Einstein, the most important question any of us can answer for ourselves is the universe a friendly place? Again, if we believe that and know that and trust that and have faith in that, then what we receive is all the good we can possibly imagine in all areas of our lives. Because, of course, abundance is not just finances. Abundance is good in all areas, our relationships, our health, our creative expression, and so on. Ernest Holmes told us we must know definitely and consistently that the universe is for us, not against us. And I would add, we also need to understand that even through challenges, good eventually comes, because that is the nature of God, is goodness. Week 3 had an unusual name. Vacuuming and decorating was the talk. And one wonders what that has to do with prosperity. Vacuuming represents house cleaning, clearing out what no longer serves us. And we need to do this both on the physical level and on the emotional, mental level, releasing false and limiting beliefs and ideas that no longer serve us. Julia Cameron said, "Nothing impedes the flow of money like physical clutter." And of course, we know that mental clutter has the same effect, so we need to release it. The decorating part comes in once we've released what no longer serves us. What do we want to redecorate our house and our brains and our lives with? What is it we want to keep? What is it we want to see when we look out that is nurturing, that is uplifting? And this has to do not only with our physical space, but also our relationships. Some have called people in our lives who are negative and bring our energy down negaholics. And we're not called to be unkind or dismiss those people, but perhaps we need to evaluate how much time we spend with different folks so that we might surround ourselves with what Julia Cameron dubs our believing mirrors. Those people who see our potential and support our goals and dreams and our power and our ability to achieve them. She calls them our believing mirrors. Week 4, Karen Drucker was with us, and she spoke about the importance of self-care in turbulent times. So certainly part of developing and nurturing a prosperous heart is listening to our heart, listening to our feelings, taking time out when we need to, taking a break. Karen, gave us a wonderful spiritual practice. She spoke about the first thing in the morning when we wake up. It's important to surround ourselves with positive energy, not turn on the news right away and be immersed in negativity. So a very sweet spiritual practice she recommended for first thing in the morning is for us to place our hand over our heart and ask, what does my heart want to say today? What does it have to say? Beautiful practice. Yeah. Then last week, my talk was time out, time in. Time out, taking time out was one of the 5 basic spiritual practices Julia Cameron recommends, taking at least 5 minutes in the morning and in the evening to be still, to listen. And I spoke last week about how all of our major religious leaders throughout the ages have done this. If you think about Jesus taking time apart, walking along the lake, going up into the mountain to pray, to be still. Other spiritual leaders that did this are Moses when he went to Mount Sinai to receive the 10 Commandments. He spent 40 days in silence and meditation. Other spiritual leaders that did the same or similar were Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree for 7 weeks, silently contemplating. And also Muhammad did the same thing. So it's such an important thing to do. And we know in science of mind that our wisdom, our peace is right within us. As Ernest Holmes told us, heaven is within us to the extent that we become conscious of it. Taking time out from the busyness of the world to take time within is how we do that. Which brings us to today, and the talk title I chose for today is A Final Key to Prosperity. All right, what's the final key? We've talked about all these other things. In short, I would say the final key to having a prosperous heart and living a prosperous life of enough and more than enough is giving, and giving with gratitude. I had a beautiful story I saw this week. Reverend Michelle Ariano wrote a letter or an article in our weekly e-newsletter about the month of November. She said November is one of her favorite months because, of course, it's the month where we celebrate Thanksgiving. and we focus on gratitude. She said it's her practice during the month of November to practice random acts of kindness. And so she purchases gift cards typically, and for at least a week during the month, she hands them out. And she might hand somebody a gift card who did an act of kindness themselves, and she was kind of thanking them. It might be to somebody who expressed a need, or it might be just randomly paying for the coffee for the person next to her in line. And she mentioned in this article one incident where she was in the grocery store one day, and she noticed a man in line behind a woman who was taking a long time at the checkout. We've all had this experience, right? She had coupons and she had questions and she couldn't find her card, and just it took forever. And when she finally completed her transaction, she turned to the man behind her and she said, "I am so sorry. I am so sorry for taking all this time." And his response was so gracious. You know, he said to her, "No problem at all. Have a beautiful day." And Michelle said he never seemed to be perturbed in any way about how long she took. It just did not faze him. And the result of that very kind comment was it put everybody at ease. It made her feel better. It made the checker feel better who was getting frazzled. Everyone else in the line just settled down with that simple act of kindness. Michelle handed him a Starbucks gift card. A little later on, she went on with her shopping. He came into the store again to find her with tears in his eyes. And he said to her that he explained that he and his wife were going through some financial difficulty and that this gift from her had given him hope. He was looking forward to taking his wife out for a cup of coffee with the gift card. And he said as he was leaving, "You really don't know how much this means to me." And Michelle's comment was, "I was fully blessed by this gentleman." That's the way it works, isn't it? We give and bless somebody else, but we are blessed in return. She said, Spirit puts us in the right place at the right time when we open our hearts. Wow, when we open our hearts. Such an important part of having a prosperous heart is to have an open heart and to watch for where we might be of service. So a prosperous heart is a generous heart as well as an open heart. So how can we give? Certainly one way we're used to giving is charitable giving. We give to those organizations that we feel good about, that are doing good work in the world, that support causes, for example, that help make a world that works for everyone, as we like to say in Centers for Spiritual Living. Many of you may already know that Centers for Spiritual Living, individual centers, have a practice of tithing. We tithe 10% of what we receive for our Sunday services back to organizations that support our mission of helping to make a world that works for everyone. Part of that 10% tithe goes to our home office, the headquarters for a denomination, but the other part goes to different local organizations. For instance, recently we've supported those organizations that provide food and housing and warmth and essentials to people in need. For example, Options for Homeless Residents of Ashland, Aura, Access, Medford Food Project, and Northwest Seasonal Workers Association. And I'll tell you, we do this even when we receive we received a very generous legacy donation a couple years ago, and we were able to tithe 10% of that back to these individual organizations, and it felt so good, you know? It just felt good to be able to do good in the world. Julia Cameron said, how you spend your money can and should reflect your true values, your most prosperous vision for yourself. So she recommends a practice called counting, where we really pay attention to everything that comes in and everything that goes out. And it's really a great way to measure, am I spending my money in accordance with my values? And is there some way I might need to tweak that? Now, I want to talk about another form of giving, not charitable giving, which is generally considered to be giving where there's a need, But tithing, I started to speak about it earlier, and everybody breathe, because I know tithing for some of us who were raised in different denominations was treated, I don't know, with an atmosphere of guilt if you didn't do it, an obligation, and maybe it was something we did because the church needed it. And I wanted to spell those myths, because tithing is a powerful spiritual practice. We in Science of Mind, at least in this center, teach at least 6 basic spiritual practices that deepen our walk with God, that deepen our understanding that the universe is a friendly place, that it's infinitely abundant. And so we teach meditation, affirmations, prayer, sacred service, giving of our time. Education can be a spiritual practice, reading or even watching a Sunday broadcast like this. And the final spiritual practice, the basic spiritual practice we teach, is tithing. So it's giving traditionally 10% of everything we receive back to those places where we're spiritually fed. What this does is prime that law of circulation, that law of giving and receiving. It seeds money, and it always comes back to us. It keeps us in the flow. Now, it's not that we give in order to receive. That's not the idea, but it is the result of giving. And I wanted to go back, and we'll show you on the screen in a moment, to the affirmation that we used for many years here at Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley as we did our offering, because I think it teaches in itself this concept of sacred giving. We used to say, this gift I give is God in action. Money is God in action. God is all there is. Money isn't evil. It's a form of energy, a form of God in action, and we get to decide how we put it into action. The next line is, I send it forth with joy and confidence and ease. When we give with joy and confidence and ease, not from a place of fear, we set in motion that law of circulation, and it comes back to us. I am blessed by the law of giving and receiving, which is what we've been talking about. That flow, that circulation is a natural order of life as I now share my good with life. And then the last line, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, comes from a Bible passage in Luke 6:38, where Jesus said, give, and it shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. So I'm going to encourage us all, if we're not already tithers, to consider it. And you don't have to start with 10%. I think there is something profoundly powerful about 10%. It's been something that's been done for eons. But, you know, if you take a look at what you're giving to the places where you're spiritually fed, and you convert it into a percentage, and then you agree, you make a commitment to tithe that amount each year, month, week, whatever. Tithing is conscious, committed giving, recognizable giving, and just making that commitment and giving it off the top, first thing, with gratitude, is an amazing practice. There are so many stories about the power of tithing, the power of sacred giving, and what it's done to enrich people's consciousness and therefore their lives. But one came across to my attention just this week from a congregant in our community. Many of you know. Her name is Colley, a beloved congregant who has practiced tithing for many years and has taught these financial prosperity principles as well. She and her husband Steve lost their home and lost everything in the recent wildfires that ripped through Ashland. And she wrote me this in an email. Kathy said, "It's amazing how the practice of tithing brings blessings even in challenging circumstances. Our home burned down September 8th. But because we've been givers, I believe we had some great karma," which is like saying we've already seeded the law of circulation, the law of giving, the law of flow. She said, we were immediately blessed with all the help, resources, and items we needed. She didn't go into detail there, but I know that she and her family were given a place to live with another family. Everything they needed, including money and items, were given to them freely without their even asking. She said, then, as we kept receiving, we started giving of what we had received, money, time, and help to others. We felt so grateful. We wanted to pay it forward, and the cycle continues. And I know that when I first called Kathy right after the fires to check in to see how she was doing, she and Steve were in the car on the way back to the site where their home was no more. And they were going there to help neighbors. They were going there in the midst of their tremendous loss to help neighbors who still hadn't found their pets that were missing, to help neighbors who needed to apply for FEMA loans or grants because they didn't have insurance. Kathy and her family were blessed that they did. So even in a time of tremendous need, she was practicing the law of giving and receiving. And that is how it works. So for those in our community, or for those who recently have discovered our broadcasts, I invite you all to consider this year, as we do every year, to submit a conscious giving commitment. And if you're not a member of this community, and perhaps you're being spiritually fed other places, I invite you to consider making a commitment to those places as well. If you're a member of this community, we have sent you an email lately, if you've been a contributor, inviting you to email your commitment, because we're not meeting in person to fill out cards this year, but you can email your commitment, how much you're intending to give, your sacred giving commitment. You can say per week, per month, or per year, just to our center's email, CSL Rogue Valley at gmail.com, cslroguevalley@gmail.com, or of course you can mail it in. And we want to thank everybody who has already submitted that conscious giving commitment. Thank you so very much. This is what helps us plan our budget for next year and remain fiscally responsible. But more than that, I guarantee you, if you practice a committed practice of giving, you will be blessed. You are practicing knowing that you have enough and more than enough, and will continue to experience that by the grace of God. Now, one more thing I want to say about giving. We give, as we say in this community, time, treasure, and talent. So treasure, of course, is the financial piece. But giving time and giving of our talents, it's a little tricky now here because we're not meeting in person, but we always recommend that you think about that. My sister, Kristen Hawkins, who has been an ordained minister for many years, I remember one year, in addition to tithing consciously 10% of her income and more, she tithed 10% of her time. She figured out, I think, her waking hours and figured out what 10% of that would be, and consciously was giving as a volunteer to help other people. I received part of that because I need tech support a lot, and she's a technical whiz. And she would cheerfully say, sure, I'll come over and help you with your computer because I'm still giving. She would help an elderly neighbor who needed help with technical issues and so on, and did it joyfully. And so I want to recognize all our volunteers recently who helped with the fire, people who were affected by the fires. And I want to recognize specifically 6 volunteers in this very room. One of them is Nancy Clay. Our practitioners are volunteers. The other are the people who have been manning our cameras, and especially Bill Miner, who is our producer director of these Sunday broadcasts. He's been here every Sunday since COVID hit. And engineering this beautiful, beautiful experience for everybody. Other people, Connie Miner, his wife, Shannon Schnibbe, Randy Clark, who's taking a deserved day off this particular day, and Jason Rummel. It's just so awesome. These folks have been giving of their time. And not only, when we say joyously and easily, Jason Rummel so many times when I've thanked him has said to me, it's my pleasure, it's my honor. And so again, I think when we give of time, treasure, and talent, we are blessed in return. Julia Cameron said, how you spend your time is how you spend your life. So wrapping up this morning, my friends, the prosperous heart is a giving heart. It's a heart that shares its bounty. It's a generous heart. So a final key to prosperity is giving with gratitude. with joy and confidence and ease. And in return, we are surely blessed by the law of giving and receiving. Let's go into prayer. So as I take a deep breath, I am so grateful for this beautiful autumn day, for the amazing and diverse ways God, Spirit, Source shows up in the magnificent colored leaves this season, in the blue, clear air, in a growing feeling in this country of healing a divide that's happened, of goodwill, of kindness, for all the volunteers. These are all God in action. Each of us, as Heather and Richard so beautifully reminded us in song earlier, we are the heart, the hands, the voice of Spirit on earth. We are. God is everywhere present, and God is infinitely abundant. There is no limit to the good that we might receive. And when we give of our time, our treasure, our talent, we start that tidal wave, that flow of good coming out, going out, and coming back. So I speak my word today for all spiritual communities that are wanting to help make a world that works for everyone, knowing that we are blessed financially, and knowing that each member, as we worship, wherever it is we worship, in a mosque, an ashram, on a yoga mat, in the middle of nature somewhere, in a temple, that each of us, as we are conscious and grateful for the good that comes in, as we make a commitment to share a portion of that good to the places we are spiritually fed, we increase this feeling of goodwill. We are the hands, the heart of Spirit on earth. Those are the words that Heather and Richard presented. We are the hands, the heart of Spirit on earth. And so my prayer this morning is also for this country, for healing, for all sides coming together, for kindness, for making sure that we do indeed have a world and a country that work for everyone. I know this is possible, and I know that each of us is what makes it possible as we allow that spirit of kindness, of love, of connection, of unity to work through us as we open our hearts, as we have a prosperous heart, a generous heart, an open heart. We create beauty, we create order, we create a world of peace. In gratitude to know this, and gratitude for everyone listening, for this beautiful philosophy, and for all spiritual paths that teach the golden rule, that teach God is all there is, I release this word into the heart of God, into the law, knowing it is heard, it is answered. And we say together, and so it is. We go now, once again, to our musicians.
Let's sing Blessed Always. This is by Ricky Byers of Agape. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen.
We are indeed blessed always, are we not? Now is the time, like we've been talking about, to share our good. So I invite you to let's use the affirmation that I alluded to earlier this week. So it's coming up on the screen now. If you would metaphorically place your gift over your heart, whatever that gift is and wherever you're sending it, let's say together, "This gift I give is God in action. I send it forth with joy and confidence and ease. I am blessed by the law of giving and receiving, as I now share my good with life, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, and so it is." As a reminder, there are several ways you can give to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley. You can mail us a check to CSL RV at P.O. Box 1458, Medford, Oregon, 97501. You can give on our website, cslroguevalley.org, by hitting the donate button. There's also a donate button right here on our Facebook page. If you're watching this on Facebook, we are also live on YouTube, as you may know. And just a reminder, we would invite you to send your conscious giving commitments to us by emailing them to cslroguevalley.org or mailing them. We do have a few brief announcements. Most importantly is at 1 p.m. this afternoon, we will be meeting on Zoom for a prospective new members class. So we'll have a chance to meet some of the community members and leaders in our community, board members and practitioners, talk a little bit about this philosophy called Science of Mind, what we are doing as a community, and what membership means. What are both the benefits and responsibilities of a member? So if you're interested, no commitment needed, please join us, whether you're a member or a prospective member. A beautiful time to come together. The links for that call are in our weekly e-newsletter. You can sign up, by the way, for that newsletter on our Facebook page under email. 2 weeks from today at 1 o'clock, we have a community town hall meeting on Zoom. Finally, a time to get together because we're not able to do it in person. That will be a lot of fun. We continue to offer morning spiritual practice calls on Zoom, both Monday and Wednesday mornings and Thursday evenings. And let's see, I think that's about it. Yeah, so please join us for any and all of those ways to come together during this time of COVID. We go now one last time to Heather and Richard for our closing song.
I'm calling this one Return Again, and I'm excited to have Richard's jazz guitar on it as well. Little more, that's right. Loosen those things that you held a little too tight to. Return again and again. Return again. No. Everything will be just fine. You and I will navigate these dark and night times. Return again and again. Return again and again. Return again and again, again and again, again and again.
Thank you so much, Heather and Richard. Thank you all for watching. And let's remember, my friends, to continue to nurture our prosperous hearts by giving of our time, our treasure, and our talent, and by being kind. That is how we create a world that works not only for us, but for every one of God's children. Bless you all. Till next time. Bye-bye.